Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my first Q&A leading up to next week's episode of the Walking Dead television series, of course, on AMC, Season 6, Episode 12, which is called Not Tomorrow Yet. And I want to thank you guys for sending me all the great questions. Continue to do so over this week, so we have some things to talk about leading into episode 12. If you missed my review, did the review last night, in-depth review, about 17 minutes, because episode 11 just has a lot of stuff going on, has a lot of stuff to talk about, so check it out. If you guys missed that, did my predictions for episode 12. Now this is going to be answering your initial questions that you guys kind of asked me for the Q&A for this week, leading off with this one. Decided no for the top 5. Sometimes I do a top 5, like I said. I'm not going to do that this week because I don't think episode 11 kind of warrants it. It's got to warrant it, and that episode doesn't really do it. So even though it's a good episode, don't get me wrong, some people thought or kind of misinterpreted what I was saying, thinking it's a bad episode. No, it's a good episode. It's just it wasn't, like a stellar, crazy episode. First question for this one's from Walt O'Leary, and he says, Trev, so do you think that the Negan storyline will be very lengthy, maybe about as long or longer than the Governor's, or shorter? What do you think, Trev? So here's what I want to say so far of what we've seen so far leading into the Negan stuff. I am just really surprised that we are seeing them cover so much ground so quickly in season 6. It just feels like a year ago we were just kind of getting to Alexandria at this time, and now we're almost into the Negan stuff. So it's really crazy to me how fast they've gone through this content compared to season 4, season 5. Season 4, season 5, I mean, they took their time with those stories. They had the infection stuff they added in, they had the best stuff, they extended the hunters into, and the marauders as well, into like a full season thing, and Terminus and everything, and it really worked out well. They did, I think, a great job with it. This one is like, season 6 is really weird to me how much it's covered already. So Negan's storyline should be really long. It should be at least longer than the Governor's for sure. It should be a minimum. I mean, if they're going to bring him in, then season 7 starts. It should be at least season 7 and season 8, maybe part of season 9. But it depends if they keep up this kind of pacing. If they do like 4 trades per season, we could see Negan be like season 7 and then like half of season 8 or something, and that would be just nuts. If you look at the Governor, he was really only a season and a half in terms of story arc, which is also way shorter than it should have been. It should have probably been longer than that. It should have been at least 2 seasons, maybe 3, and they really amped up the pacing for season 3, that's for sure. Now, season 6 is starting to feel a lot like that. Like they're covering so much ground. It's like, what are they going to do with the rest of the season? But maybe that's because we're going to start to see in the next 4 episodes some additional stories or additional men from the Saviors that weren't in the comic book series. So if this is the start, if this half is kind of the start of Negan's storyline after, No Way Out, then I would say at least probably 2 full seasons, closer to 2.5 to 3 for all the Negan stuff. Minimum, and if it's not that, I'd be worried that the television series might start to catch up to the comic book series because it's covering so much ground so quickly. Next one's from Anthony Miller, and he says, my question to you, Trev, is if you were Rick, would you follow what he is doing or not? So I probably would, yeah. But I do think that there are some serious problems with what the group kind of did. Now, Rick was kind of talked into it. I don't know if I want to say he's totally talked into it, but it seems like Daryl and everybody, Daryl kind of volunteered, everybody kind of as a group have decided we can take him, we can do this. Michonne doesn't seem 100% sure, she doesn't seem to want to do it, but they're low on food too, so it's a tough situation for them that they're in right now. So would I personally? The thing is that you really, it's tough. You have to know your enemy. Art of War and that. You just in warfare, you have to know your enemy really, really well. I mean, if you have to send out, a good number of scouts, even if you have to send out 5 or 6 scouts and try to figure out as much as you can about him, maybe capture a couple of his people and really learn all you can about him, whatever you have to do, torture, whatever, as dark as that is, you may have to in order to find out what you're dealing with. So they've already made a deal with the people of the Hilltop, which, okay, so, they have to honor their part. Well, they could not honor their part, so I guess it's okay for them to do that in the situation they're in. it's not like the Hilltop's going to do anything if they can't honor, what they said they would do. So with regards to that, that's fine to take the stuff and to take the deal and everything. But the problem is they've agreed, so if they're going to hold up their end of the bargain, they've agreed to take on this group that they don't know anything about. And that's a problem, because if you don't know your enemy, then you don't know if you're going to win. If you know your enemy and you know yourself, the odds of you losing are very, very low. Otherwise, if you're not going to win or your chances are too low, you don't fight the battle. You run or you do whatever you have to do. So with this one, it's always a tough question when it comes to other surviving groups, like with the prison and the governor. Should they have stayed at the prison? Should they have maybe left earlier? Maybe should they do that for Alexandria? Is it worth fighting for? Is the community worth fighting for? Kind of seems like it, but tough call, and them being kind of Rick's people and what he has to do. So I guess what I'm saying is I would, but they should know a little bit more about who they're dealing with first. And of course, in war, there's always going to be casualties one way or another. So I think Rick realizes that too, but he just sees it as, well, if we don't have food, then we're all going to die. So everybody in the community is going to die, and he has to do what's right. And if they have to fight in order to get some food, it's better than them all starving to death, right? Or getting close to it. Because the weaker they get, the worse it gets over time, the less energy they're going to have to go on runs, the more difficult it's going to be for them to move and to do anything. And they have a lot of people in Alexandria to feed, so it could be a big problem. Also being out there in the open, too, as we saw in Season 5, you have characters just kind of getting killed off by zombies here and there, like what happened with Tyrese. Being on your own out there in the open is difficult, too, especially if you're undernourished, too. It can be really tough and you can get weak. So there's my answer to you. Yes, I guess I do, but, preferably you'd like to know more, even though they're just kind of getting into it now. DerekTheNewb says, Trev, they've been showing Abraham a lot in Episode 9. Do you think he will get killed off? P.S. I think him leaving the necklace behind is foreshadowing that he'll leave for Rosita for Sasha. That's good. I like that. I hadn't really thought of that myself, but I like your interpretation of it. I don't know for sure if it is and what he's going to decide to do. That's yeah. But I like how they showed his struggle in this episode and kind of where he's at and what he should do. But it does seem like maybe he's had an epiphany that maybe he does want to do that. It seems like when he's talking to Glenn, he's kind of checking for reassurance about the kind of settling down thing, and he's not sure if he wants to do that. Maybe that's part of the decision. Is with Rosita, he could look at like settling down, but with Sasha, he's more looking at making a switch and it wouldn't be in that. Maybe he's kind of scared of getting into that situation with Rosita and not being sure based on what he's seen in the world so far and how many people have been killed and not wanting to bring a baby in. So that's it's interesting psychology where he's at, and they have been showing a lot of him for him to be someone who you were talking about possibly killing off. I'm a little bit worried about that after this episode too, because he did get a lot of time. Granted, I think they've really done a good job in The Walking Dead of fleshing out a lot of different characters and giving them all some time here and there and mixing it well so that it all feels good. Like even Denise is in there too, and she's had some time, and I wouldn't think that she would. And everybody kind of gets in the 16 episodes. They've been really mixing it up well, giving each character some decent time. Doesn't always mean they're going to be killed off just because they get some time. There's the story, of course, as well, too. And it doesn't always end with every single character being killed. So we'll see. But Abraham, it could be pretty soon. Maybe in episode 14 or 15, something like that, like a pre-finale type death. I don't think it'll be in the finale. Next one's from The Undead 06, and he says, Hey Trev, do you think they will continue construction on the Hilltop to better match its comic counterpart? It seemed way too small this episode. Yeah, I said the same thing in my review and kind of my prediction. Some people were upset that I had said that. They're like, it's not that small. Like, I don't know, it's not the comic. Stop whining or something. And I was like, well, I'm not really whining. I'm not saying it's horrible or anything like that. It looks good. It's just that the comic book series version seemed bigger to me. But that said, it must be expensive to build that, and it does seem pretty tight-knit, though, pretty closed in. It doesn't seem, to me, it seems smaller than Alexandria. Alexandria seems big and have a lot of space. This even seems smaller than Woodbury or sort of any of the other places, but you got to consider from comic book series to TV series. In the comic book series, Charlie Adler just draws it as big as he wants to. In the television series, you actually have to build that, and you only have so much time, and you have a deadline you have to hit. So that could be really, really, really tough for them to do that. And I think it looks good for the most part in the TV series, for the most part. Yeah, but a little small, definitely, I agree. So probably the best we're going to get anyway. At least we got it at this point. I didn't even think it'd be done by this point. Next one's from Luciana. He says, Trev, do you think that when Maggie said this will cost us something, it is foreshadowing an upcoming death? Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's going to be... I think they all know that if you get into skirmishes with other groups and that, you're going to have casualties on both sides, even if it's kind of like a flawless victory type deal. It's very unlikely that you're going to have a war and that no one is going to die on your side and you're going to be able to kill everybody on the other side, especially when you have, guns in that and someone could just pull a trigger really quickly and boom, somebody's dead. So it's not realistic, I think, and I think they all kind of know that there will be a cost involved for sure. Next one's from Weston TWD. He says, is Jesus part of Rick's group more now? He went back with them on the bus. They got a couple Hilltop people, period. So good question. So the sense that I get from Jesus in the TV series and the comic book series is kind of like he feels like he fits in way better with Rick's group than the Hilltop. The Hilltop, being like a farming community type of people, I don't think there's many people there that are very adventurous, that are willing to go out there in the world, that are willing to kind of run around and go on runs and do stuff like that he's willing to do. And he's quick and he's tough, he can fight and he can do all these different things. I don't think there's many there that he relates that well to. Maybe Cal at the gate is somebody that he relates to a bit, but the majority of the people there, I think he feels out of place. And I think when he meets Rick's group and when he meets the survivors, he just feels like, wow, a lot of these people are like me. You have Rick, you have Daryl, you have a lot of these people that are used to going out all the time. They're being on the road. They haven't just been kind of cooped up behind a big wooden fence on top of a hill, in the muck and in the mud. In order to survive, they've actually been out there in the thick of things, and I think he maybe fits in better with them. Plus, he also wants to make sure that they're not just giving away all their stuff and not getting anything in return. I think he realizes that he's kind of needed there to kind of explain things to Rick and the group, and if it's going to work and have any chance at them beating Negan, he's going to have to be involved in some way, and he's willing to help out while the others just kind of stay at the Hilltop, grow food, and kind of stand around. That gets boring after a while. That's for sure, I would think. Next one's from Javier_Rosa, and he says, seeing as Morgan is pretty much uncomfortable with pretty much every decision, and before his Zen transformation, he pretty much gave up on life, do you think that Morgan might be pushed back to his old self and end up getting killed on the season finale? So I feel like Morgan is transformed so much now that I don't think he can really go back to that way. I don't think he can see things in that perspective and go out and go to war and everything. I don't see him in the promo. I don't see him there with Rick's group getting ready to attack. It seems like he's either probably back at Alexandria. He'd be decent as like a zombie guard. So if a bunch of zombies come through, he can help, kill off a bunch of zombies, that kind of deal. He can fight people hand to hand, but he wouldn't be much use against people with firearms in that. That's this just is what it is, because he doesn't really like guns. He doesn't use them, and against a bow. If it's close range, he'll be fine with his bow. If you get into distances out in the open, yeah, he's against guns, not gonna do well. Yeah. Next one's from Scott Weinberg, and he says, and this we'll just do like a couple more. Trev, I've noticed the characters' clothes are changing to brighter colors to fit a more positive storyline. Actually, I'm going to end on this one because I want to get my thoughts on this one because this is a really great one. He says, it really stood out to see Rick's bright blue shirt in episode 10. He usually wears muted colors and the light blue in that. So Scott Weinberg. So I really want to put this one in here because absolutely 100% for sure, the feel of the show has changed tremendously from No Way Out and prior. We went through the story arc beginning in season 5, second half, with the Alexandria storyline, going into season 6 and kind of the monster movie zombie, threat to the wolves and that, and kind of being really dark and gritty and gory and really, really just a lot of grit and just darkness and in terms of a story, death and destruction and everything, and No Way Out. I think the show reinventing itself and their kind of concept of reinventing itself really is showing, and they're trying to do something different from what we've seen in the series so far. I can't really think of a season or a time where it felt like this. This is a really different feel for The Walking Dead. And I'm curious as to how people feel about it. You can write your comments below on how you feel about the new feel. Maybe I should do a whole video, or I should lead the Q&A with this one and kind of try to get your guys' feedback, because I want to hear what you guys think as a Walking Dead community, what you think of the kind of the new feel that they've gone with in the TV series. I think what they're doing is this. The storyline has just been through such grit and just such darkness so far with this season, with all that stuff we talked about, the Andersons and everything. Crazy first half with the wolves and all that stuff and zombies. So this half, I think what they're doing is they've reinvented it, but they're trying to lull us into a false sense of security. So they're trying to lull us into this kind of brightness. Even if you look at the when they're talking to Jesus, you got the sun shining in. It's everywhere. Everybody's looking happy and, well, maybe not happy, but just really bright and colorful, and everything looks beautiful and all that. And it's a new day and that. And when you've got Jesus, the next world, he's running around in the light and stuff, and you've got kind of the comedy part where Daryl's chasing after him and everybody's okay and nobody gets killed off and Jesus doesn't pull the trigger on him and everything. It's just a really lighter type of feel for The Walking Dead. I think they're setting us up for a fall. So you have really dark, and then we come out, really bright, the brightest we've ever had, and then it's going to fall again to the darkest probably ever. So I think that's what they're doing, because we've had a lot of seasons of really dark stuff, and we haven't had too many kind of bright and kind of lighter episodes, and that's kind of, I wouldn't say entirely what we're getting right now, but we're definitely getting a lighter feel for the show. But I think it's to set us up for a big finale where things just come, crashing down, or maybe in a few episodes even it'll go back to more grittier, darker style, more zombies and everything. We'll see. But I think that's what they're doing. They're messing with us. So they're just messing with us. They're setting us up, making us feel all warm and fuzzy and secure, and like things are great, and then they're going to smash it all away. Something to fear is going to come in. So I'll end the Q&A here with that, guys. I hope you liked it. Write your comments below on what you think of the feel, and maybe I'll do another video talking about it in particular as a beginning Q&A. You can thumb up this video. Check out the review if you missed it. Check out the predictions if you missed it. You can share, you can fave, and if you want to subscribe, bottom left, click this subscribe button. I appreciate every subscriber I get. That's it for today's. I'll probably have another Q&A for you guys for tomorrow. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. See you guys.